Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this September 18th, 2025. I've got all your stories for your rush hour ride to work, which are going to be centered around the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. I'm going to break down the entire timeline of how this all went down yesterday, happened yesterday afternoon, into the evening, started with a little bit of a boycott from one of the media groups, Sinclair. I'll share what they have to say. We'll hear from the Writers Guild of America, and we're also going to hear from other conservative pundits and why they actually, in some cases, are sticking up for the First Amendment right. Now, you might argue, well, is it your First Amendment right to say whatever you want and not get fired from your hosting gig on a TV show? No, that's not what the First Amendment is. But in the merit of the First Amendment, are we really okay with letting our executive administration, the president, deciding what speech is good and bad and using whatever political levers they might have, in this case, the FCC, to drive a hard bargain and say, well, I won't approve a merger unless you maybe get rid of that guy that's been a pain in my butt. And this is the real conversation that's happening. We're going to hear from Terry Moran, the ABC journalist who was essentially canceled, fired following his pushing back on Trump in interviews. It's absolutely insane out there. And on the morning episode, we try our best to cover some pop culture and give you some lighthearted news, get you ready for work. But we can't do any of that if we don't address how grave this situation actually is. So we're going to dive into this, and I've got several other stories. I tell you what, if you stick around, all at the end of this episode, share with you the story of the gang of orcas off the coast of Portugal that are capsizing ships. It's a ragtag group of orcas, a lot of free willies out there downing the ships. I'll get into that. Just stick around. And actually, let's start on a non-heavy story. This being the CEO of Starbucks is saying they're getting protein cold foam.
But we are coming out with protein cold foam.
Oh, come on.
So there it is. They're coming out with protein cold foam, which, again, I would like, but you got to get rid of the sugar. If you're going to do a high-protein coffee, you can't load it with sugar. And not to mention, what's the upcharge on that? Either way, as the Rush Hour podcast, we're here for your commute to work, so I've got to cover our coffee news. But let's dive into it. Let's share. I gotta do this. You might have already heard it, but I want to share exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said. This is being reshared by the Twitter account Republicans Against Trump. Now, regardless of what your feelings are on Trump and his trade policies and how he is for the economy and all of that, we need to be able to have this conversation about how wild this is that one of the few, I guess 40% of late night hosts have now been fired in one way or another just in the last couple of months. Who's next? Jimmy Fallon? This is a wild time to be alive. So Republicans Against Trump posted, not a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel, but if you think his show should be canceled for this, you're a hack and a total fraud who should never pretend to care about free speech. I've been a warrior for free speech for a while, kind of talking about how absurd a lot of the cancel culture is and how the pendulum swings too far and this and that. But let's break down exactly what he said, because you're going to hear people misinterpreting and conflating it. Have a listen.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
So he said the MAGA group desperately trying to point fingers at anyone but them. He didn't accuse the shooter of being in one political ideology or another. And again, words matter, especially when you're just going to fire someone over this.
In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes.
And again, listen, humor's an interesting thing, right? Because it can come off of heavy topics. Making a joke about Trump's reaction to the Charlie Kirk shooting is not a joke being made about Charlie Kirk. When you describe comedy, you kill it. And in this case, it's a funny bit. It was a weird moment. Hey, Trump, how you doing? Well, we're building this thing. It's like, what in the spectrum are you doing over here?
He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
So the 4-stage of grief construction, it kills in his audience, and you might say, well, I don't like it. But are we really going to get rid of this guy? The best way to get rid of somebody in the free market is to not watch their show. Let the ratings fall off, right? But this is absolutely wild. So following, and by the way, that was like, I think Friday, I believe. So not everything was known about the shooter, but to think that people weren't already pointing political fingers. I mean, the most opportune moment right after the shooting, right before, I mean, they were pointing fingers in all directions. And there's no proof, as far as we know it right now, that the shooter was left-leaning. We know he was trans-friendly. Does that count as left-leaning? It was someone who might have had a motive based on that issue, but we're still waiting to figure it out. So Sinclair Media Group, they own like a whole bunch of stations across the country. They say they were going to suspend Jimmy Kimmel, but then they said it's not enough. They called on the FCC and ABC to take additional action. So after they said they were going to suspend, that's when ABC said, we're just going to pull the whole dang thing.
Breaking news, Jimmy Kimmel, his late night show apparently is suspended indefinitely. The move is coming shortly after our parent company, Nexstar Media Group, announced that it would pull Jimmy Kimmel Live off of all ABC stations it owns throughout the nation over the host's comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk Monday.
And I bet you half the people that are covering this story aren't even listening to what he actually said. But it's not about defending what he said. It's about defending that you should be able to say what you want. Let the audience decide if they want to partake or not, and not to have the political pressure come from the executive branch. So who is Nexstar? We'll get into that in a second. Donald Trump responded, great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent, worse ratings than Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC, President Donald J. Trump. Let's continue. So we covered what Jimmy Kimmel said, but here's CNN's Jake Tapper putting the pieces together about how the Trump administration is responsible for ABC deciding to can Jimmy Kimmel. Because you might say, well, ABC is allowed to do with their programming whatever they want. It's the political pressure that was put on them.
Well, follow the money. In August, Nexstar, the largest owner of TV stations, local TV stations in the country, announced that they wanted to purchase their rival Tegna for more than $6 billion. Now, in order for that deal to go through, Nexstar would need the approval of the Federal Communications Commission. And in fact, they would need the FCC to lift the cap, a 39% cap that the FCC has, which is a rule that states no company can own enough TV stations to reach more than 39% of the households in the United States. And this deal going through would violate that cap.
And what's so interesting about these deals, these giant conglomerates, is they don't care if they have to throw something out. They're doing these multi-billion-dollar deals, right? Paramount is going to merge with another company. Well, we're going to have to get rid of Stephen Colbert. Get it the hell out of there. Get these things out of there. Whether they're profitable or not shouldn't matter in this case. It's that during the negotiation where the Trump administration, the FCC, can operate as like the bouncer, they get to decide who gets into the nightclub, who gets approved. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And you'll see folks that might disagree with that and say, well, you tried to cancel us and this is our comeback. And it's like, well, first of all, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And it's one thing for a coalition of left-leaning or right-leaning people to send a angrily worded letter to the boss at a company to get somebody fired. It's another when it's political pressure coming from the president.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible.
Now, I'm going to disagree on that. I'm going to disagree on the joke. Whether you thought he should have made it or not, he made a joke about Donald Trump's ADHD. That's what the joke was about. So this is the FCC chairman talking on the Benny Johnson show. I mean, just a total hack that anybody would not push back on knowing exactly what's happening here. You know, again, the one thing we should all be united on is protecting the Constitution and specifically freedom of speech. Because if you don't have freedom of speech, what are we even doing here? And now that it's convenient to some of these conservative podcasters, they're looking the other way. There will be some that have balls and ovaries, I'll cover them, who are standing up against this. But this is the time where we get to see who's got a spine and who doesn't.
As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
And that is what some are considering a very gangster-like approach. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Now, ABC, Disney chose the easy way. They chose to acquiesce. They didn't choose to fight this. It'd be a very easily won case for them. Kind of like some of the other settlements that have happened between ABC and Donald Trump over 60 Minutes. You've seen Trump now suing for $1 billion Washington Post. He's also suing the New York Times. How? I mean, it is so aggressively out of bounds. I don't know how people can even argue anything but that. So here we have the FCC chair, a total stooge, saying we have to do what's best for the public interest. I'm here to remind people there is such a thing as a remote control. They can decide which channel they want to watch. It's like going to a buffet, getting so bent out of shape because the calamari's too chewy that you want to fire the chef. Bubba, choose the meatballs, for fuck's sake. So I want to share with you what Tucker Carlson has to say. Now, this is before the firing of Jimmy Kimmel, but after what Pam Bondi said about coming after people. And this is going to be very interesting. Take a quick break. When we come back, Tucker Carlson stands up for the First Amendment. Today's podcast is sponsored by Rula. Telehealth has made mental health care more convenient and accessible for millions of people. Finding a suitable therapist, scheduling appointments, and the expensive out-of-pocket costs still keep many from getting the care they need. Rula is on a mission to make high-quality mental health care from a licensed professional easy and affordable for everyone. Rula takes most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only $15 per session. Rula supports every aspect of your mental health journey, from therapy to medication management, and with its diverse network of licensed, experienced professionals, it's easy for you to get the care you need. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to Rula.com/rush-hour to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show. Tell them we sent you. Go to Rula.com/rush-hour. Take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. All right, here it is. It's making its rounds. Tucker Carlson, now that he's off mainstream media, hey, look, he's still got a lot of quacky viewpoints, but you got to take your sort of peers when you can get them in today's world. You got to understand who's willing to fight this battle. And Pam Bondi, of course, was saying, people that have speech that is, hateful speech, we're going to come after you. And Tucker Carlson's like, wait, is this even about Charlie Kirk at this point? Are you just using this guy for your own political opportunity?
There's almost no sentence that Charlie Kirk, and I'm not running the risk of appropriating his memory for my own ends by saying this, it's provable. There's no sentence that Charlie Kirk would have objected to more than that. And you've got to think the Attorney General didn't think it through and was not attempting to desecrate the memory of the person she was purporting to celebrate, that she just threw that out there, that she hadn't thought about it. You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build.
And this was before Jimmy Kimmel. Excuse me.
You hope that
this was before Jimmy Kimmel got fired. So all of these folks in independent media, Megyn Kelly, she was fired by NBC. Shouldn't they all stand up for what's going on and go, guys, this is really, really bad?
A year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country.
So it didn't even take a year. It took a day, folks, before they came after Jimmy Kimmel. Here's Megyn Kelly responding to Pam Bondi. We don't have Megyn Kelly's response yet to to Jimmy Kimmel's firing. We'll get to that this afternoon, but she doesn't mince words here when she fights back against Pam Bondi and what Pam Bondi said about targeting people for their speech.
And putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action.
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Okay, so that is Stephen Miller's wife, my team reminds me. And while her husband fully understands the law, honestly, while her husband fully understands the law and has been behind the most critical policies of the Trump administration that have been very successful, she clearly doesn't, and she doesn't understand the conservative movement, or she would not have asked that question. What kind of a question is that? It was completely teed up in a way that sounds like a lefty. Are you going to crack down on hate speech? What the fuck? That is not a question.
Don't we love a good, well-placed what the fuck? I love Megyn Kelly when she actually sticks up for, common things like the First Amendment here. And look, I mean, sadly, she's saying that's not what conservative values are. Megyn, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? That ship sailed a long time ago. Small business, government staying out of your personal life? What are you talking about? We're talking about an authoritarian regime. One that wants to put the military into the streets, one that wants to use executive powers to put tariffs and, have that money foot the bill for their tax cuts. This isn't your Republican Party. Your Republican Party is gone. I hate to say it. And the Democrats, they have an opportunity to go back to the basics here. It's like when you're in a slump as a baseball player, just go back to the basics, do a little soft toss, go back to defending the First Amendment. We all understand what happened post-COVID. A lot of people on the left, there was purity culture. The loudest voices were trying to, condemn people for their thoughts that maybe weren't caught up to where they are on this moral scale. There ain't any time for that conversation until we go back to the basics, and that is defending the Constitution. I do have some other stories I want to get to after Randy Moss completing his cancer treatment. I do have some positive things we're going to get to. Just a reminder that will come. We got to get this all out of the way. Terry Moran offered a pretty good interview of Donald Trump. He pushed back with facts when Donald Trump was lying and gaslighting him. He, of course, was fired shortly thereafter from ABC. So clearly he knows a thing or two about what Jimmy Kimmel's going through.
My former employer has now pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely. Why?
Because they're bitches.
Because the Trump administration demanded it. Jimmy said something they didn't like. You can look it up and decide for yourself whether you like it or not. That's the way this country is supposed to work. I've got a few things to say about this. First, I am heartbroken for Jimmy Kimmel. This is no way to treat a person, especially for perfectly ordinary, constitutionally protected free speech. It's wrong. Second, if the First Amendment means anything in this country, it means that some government bureaucrat cannot dictate what a late night show host says in his or her monologue. They just can't do that. This is a blatant attack on free speech that would not have held up in the courts. Guaranteed. Finally, at some point, some corporation somewhere is going to stand up to this administration. That is essential. We are all in this together. All of us need to stand up for our rights, for our freedoms. And tonight, that means for Jimmy Kimmel.
Wow. Terry Moran coming in hot. There it is. Terry Moran, formerly off ABC, needs to change his TikTok title there. But yeah, this idea that, the conservatives, the Republican Party said, we want to bring back free speech. We want to be able to say whatever you want. And now that Trump fires Jimmy Kimmel, they say, yeah, but it's really consequences, right? The fuck out of here with this bullshit.
Free speech is only relevant. Free speech is only meaningful if you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like.
I mean, it's as simple as that, right? And here we have a CNN pundit, Scott Jennings. He represents sort of like the MAGA voice on CNN, and he makes the argument that, hey, Trump did nothing wrong. This was just ABC deciding to cut their late night guy. Have a listen.
Has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks half this country on a nightly basis.
Does anyone know where he lied in that thing that I posted? Again, I'm going to share it with you one more time. It might not be the best worded thing, but it's not a lie.
Weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can.
A MAGA gang trying to characterize the kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything but other than them. They were pointing fingers at other political ideologies. Boom. Bingo. Done. What are we talking about? Are we, is this like some Barrington effect or whatever it's called, where you remember the thing wrong of what was said?
Whoa. Hold on. Listen, there are plenty of people over on another network that I will not name who lied about the last election, who denigrate half the country every single night. And guess what? They are allowed to do it. Now, the question is, Scott, is the
by
government...
their company. It's their business decision.
Hold on. But is the government supposed to be punishing people for the speech that they don't like? Is that the role of the government in your mind?
The government is not punishing them. This was not a government decision.
And that's why it's like, quit pissing on my leg and telling me it's raining. I mean, unbelievable. Like, clearly this is a government decision. And by the way, when companies get this big, companies are psychopathic. We talk about it all the time. They don't feel emotions. They don't care if they get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. They're all about their bottom dollar, maximizing their shareholders, the publicly traded companies. They don't care. And that's the problem, is you get these companies that are so big that they need the approval of the FCC to do a merger. They start doing shifty things. The Writers Guild of America made a statement about the firing. The right to speak our minds and to disagree with each other, to disturb even, is at the very heart of what it means to be a free people. It is not to be denied, not by violence, not by the abuse of governmental power, nor by acts of corporate cowardice. As a guild, we stand united in opposition to anyone who uses their power and influence to silence the voices of writers or anyone who speaks in dissent. If free speech applied only to ideas we like, we needn't have bothered to write it into the Constitution. What we have signed on to, painfully as it may be at times, is the freeing agreement to disagree. Shame on those in government who forget this founding truth. As for our employers, our wars have made you rich. Silencing us impoverishes the whole world. The Writers Guild stands with Jimmy Kimmel and his writers. I mean, how many people are going to be losing their job? 50 to 100 over just this right here. So here is the Daily Show. This is what they had to say. And again, this was about the Pam Bondi cancel culture. This is before Jimmy Kimmel even came about. But it just goes to show how busy the executive branch is. We say executive branch because Pam Bondi, she's basically doing Trump's personal bidding.
Employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people.
People say, oh, people have a right to say things. Well, actually, they don't necessarily have a right to say things. I think it is time for this to be a crackdown on people.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer.
Hold on. The vice president wants me to try to get people fired from their jobs? First off, as a white woman, we've been doing that for years, okay? Stop appropriating our culture. But secondly, is this what we want? The vice president's job isn't to lead an online mob. The vice president's job is to... Okay, he doesn't really have a job, but...
He's the president of the Senate, right? Isn't that the vice president's job, that you're the president of the Senate? And that's really the only thing you have to do. Everything else is kind of symbolic. But either way, he's also now the, I guess, a podcast host. Dave Portnoy had a terrible take. CEO, founder of Barstool. Terrible take. And I want to share a good take underneath that. With Kimmel getting canned, I'm seeing lots of people talking about the hypocrisy of cancel culture. To me, cancel culture is when people go out of their way to dig up old tweets, videos, looking for dirt on someone they don't like in an effort to get them fired. If Kimmel got canceled for stuff he did on The Man Show, that would be cancel culture. But when a person says something that a ton of people find offensive, rude, dumb in real time, and then that person is punished for it, that's not cancel culture. That is consequences for your action. Now, I wanted to highlight Andy from Popcorn Planet with a great response. He said, actually, cancel culture is mob mentality morally policing another, which is what snowflake conservatives are now doing every day. What Jimmy Kimmel actually said was not incorrect or insensitive. He said the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. That is true. They labeled him trans, liberal, prayed he was not one of us. And again, that was the governor of Utah. The fact that conservatives want to celebrate his silence and cancellation is the most hypocritical snowflake nonsense I've ever seen. We can't silence folks we disagree with. It's insanely depressing how many folks don't see how chilling this is. This isn't about liking Kimmel or not. This was free speech that deserved no consequences. Just wild updates. I want to take a break and talk a little bit more about Epstein. Here is Representative Moskowitz, Jamie Moskowitz, asking the FBI Director Patel if he would open an investigation into the Epstein state for releasing a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the pedophile ring. I got to be careful how I say that. To which Patel responded by asking on what basis. So this is just more of the hypocrisy that's playing out in our government right now, where Donald Trump is suing the Washington Post, I believe that's who it was, over their sharing of the story of the Epstein book, where there was, this thing written by Donald Trump. Donald Trump signed it. He claims it's a fake document. So right here we have Representative Moskowitz saying, well, if it's a fake document, why don't you arrest them for forgery or whatever? Have a listen.
You've seen the picture of the woman's body with the writing and the president's signature. The president says that's not his. Mm-hmm. Okay? President says it's not his. The Republican colleagues say it's not his. The administration say it's not his. Will you be opening up an investigation into the Epstein estate for putting out a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the world's largest pedophile ring? Will you be opening that investigation into that?
On what basis?
On what basis? They literally put out a fake document, according to the president, with a fake signature. It's a forgery of the president of the United States signature. That's the basis.
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, I look forward to that investigation. Am I over?
Oh, we laugh because we cannot cry. I think I called him Jamie. That's Jared Moskowitz. All right, so they're going to open an investigation into the Epstein estate for the forgery of Donald Trump's signature, which was done 20 years ago in a book for Epstein, which of course it wasn't a forgery. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable. Look, there's some crazy stuff going on. I mean, all of this is taking up the news cycle that this story hasn't even gotten coverage. Body of a black student is found hanging from a tree in Mississippi. Police at Delta State University said no evidence of foul play was found in the death of Demartravian Trey Reed. Investigation is ongoing. They are trying to get, an autopsy. And it's just an absolute wild story here. We have the NAACP posting the body of 21-year-old Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree on the campus. And until somebody sent this to me, I didn't see this in the news. Initial reports offered no evidence of foul play. You'd have to excuse our skepticism amidst growing racially motivated violence targeted at our communities across the nation. So while we await more formal autopsy reports, we offer this piece of history with a level of certainty. Our people have not historically hung ourselves from trees. Now, how is this all connected? Well, it might not be connected, but when you see violence play out, there's always going to be Loonatoon quacks out there trying to get revenge, and the pendulum swings back and forth. We got our eyes on that story. I promised I'd share this with you, caught on camera. A pod of orcas, a gang of very aggressive young male orcas actually sank a boat after ramming into it off the coast of Portugal.
Heart-stopping video, a pod of orcas swarms a tourist sailboat, ramming the vessel repeatedly. Circling the boat, carrying 5 people over the weekend, about 5 miles off the coast of Portugal.
Well, surely these orcas couldn't sink this boat, right?
In video shared by the Portuguese nautical center Terra Incognita, you can see the crew start to panic, and the boat eventually goes under, the bow tipping into the water and sinking. The Portuguese Navy says all 5 people were safely rescued without injury. And later that day, the Navy says another incident with the same pod of orcas.
So these orcas they're up to no good. Hey, orcas in Portugal, knock it off. Now, these experts then go on to say that these orcas are just young male orcas. Maybe they were watching too many violent video games. Maybe who knows what led them to do this. But either way, do you orcas? The ocean's your territory. I still like you. I'm a fan. In other news, the Democratic representative spars with FBI director on Trump's name in the Epstein files. Sorry, sorry, we're a little all over the place on this, but I mean, Patel, the fact he hasn't lost his job yet over these the sparring that's gone on. I mean, they are making this guy look like a damn fool. Have a listen.
The first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so I
have reviewed not the entirety of the files. Sir, what English language is that?
Reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all the files.
Yeah, because they put a low-level former prosecutor turned podcaster as the head of the FBI. He's not just incompetent, he's in way over his head. I don't know if he understands that, but the fact that he hasn't been fired yet, I mean, just goes to show they like him because he's riding Trump's dick hard. I mean, that's just what it is.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history.
Sorry, I was wrong. I was too soon. I'm sorry, Cash. He's providing the safest country this country has ever seen. That's what he's been busy doing. He can't upload a couple of these files to ChatGPT and summarize Epstein and all of that. No, he's busy providing the safest country this country has ever seen.
In historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked and the number of pedophiles.
It sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security.
My job is to take the company FBI jet to Miami to go see a UFC tournament.
This country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article.
My time, Director.
Keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
The president is not implicated. Why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released.
Everything that's credible they've released. Well, why don't you release it all? Because it's not. Why isn't it credible? Because it mentions the president's name. Well, if it's not credible, just release it. We can clean this thing up right away.
Remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
So he's had conversations about the entirety of the Epstein files, but he hasn't read the entirety of the Epstein files. Got it.
Tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files.
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's
It's a simple question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the president's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your constituency by focusing on reducing violent crime in this country and the number of pedophiles that are illegally harbored in your sanctuary cities in California? I'll work with you on that.
Regular order, Mr. Chairman.
Director,
I'm the laws and gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The question has been asked and answered.
You have not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt.
Wow. I mean, guys, I still get DMs from people saying, Dave, you're so politically biased. How dare you not present the full story? The government is a clown show, folks. A clown show. I've had people say, yeah, well, if you keep on sharing only one side of the story, you'll continue to lose listeners. And I respond, I'm sorry, we've never been more popular. Our channel's never been shared more because we are speaking truth to power. When they come for Jimmy Kimmel and ABC just gives him as an offering, some virgin sacrifice in order for their merger deals to go through, and the people that don't stand up for it, I just have to remind them, they're coming for you next. They're starting on the top. And this idea that these comedians can't tell jokes, don't be a fucking bitch. Let's end on a good story. Randy Moss completes his cancer treatment. Randy Moss, of course, on the Patriots, when Tom Brady was at his best, he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, had cancer. Now he gets to ring the bell.
I ring the bell and now the future begins today.
I want to thank everybody here at this hospital for welcoming me to be a part of their family, of their extended family. So I've told y'all this before. Y'all do a great job of taking care of people. And I know it's an emotional moment, but I thank you all. God bless you. Yes. All right.
Always a good moment seeing someone ring the bell at the hospital. Great moment to know that when it comes down to it, there's nothing worth more than our own health, the love of our families, our communities. And the only thing I'm trying to do with my channel is continue to try to inspire, entertain, be a positive light in an otherwise kind of tumultuous world out there. That's all we're trying to do. And we won't be silenced. Feel free to share us with a friend. Really helps the channel grow. Continue to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a nice 5-star review. We'll be back this afternoon. By the way, if you do want to support us, you can join Patreon at patreon.com/Dave Neal. Later today, we're going to have our membership community live stream on YouTube, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. That live stream is a way to discuss content creating, how to grow your channel. I audit YouTube channels, your TikTok, Instagram. If you've got any social media out there or a book you're writing, really anything creative you're doing, if you want some advice from someone, join the YouTube community. I'll be here to give it. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.